All right, welcome in everybody. My name is Alex. I host a little conversation. We try to do it weekly, a little YouTube channel called The American Leads. And with me today is Michael. As always, he is Leads Faithful on Twitter, and he is my Canadian neighbor to the north. And we are usually with Jeer, but Jeer is not with us tonight, and I couldn't stream last week. Uh just life hitting us. I think yeah, I just had some stuff we were going to stream on Thursday, and then I just had some stuff happening. We were kind of pushing the hour back, and then so it is what it is. It's a long season. So and Jeer's taking on more responsibility with his coaching endeavor. So and obviously a weekly morning channel. So hopefully you can. I said hopefully he's streaming us on the commute home. And Michael and I were just doing a few thoughts on coffee or tea before we dig into Leeds United and Jesse Marsh. You're exclusively coffee and tea.
Pretty much. That's all I drink, man.
Now black tea.
Yeah. I don't drink
black
any
tea because I
do. Yeah.
Heath came through
either Yorkshire tea or Yorkshire Gold, and I flip flop between the two.
Okay. He came through my neck of the woods, and he had an espresso on his way to Boston, and so that's a pretty powerful coffee drink. And so he shared his love for kind of a dark black coffee with me, and so so the same with the tea.
Good too.
Yeah, it's lightly caffeinated. Now, you said you're about 5 to 6 cups
of coffee?
Sorry to expose you. I'm about that. I think I'm about 4. I love caffeine. I think it's great. I don't drink, so I don't drink like when I was a kid. So I think coffee's the way to go. And
pretty convenient then that your office is just about on top of your favorite coffee shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My office sits above an espresso bar in the town. So let us know in the comments.
Give me 1 second.
Go ahead. Let us know in the comments. Coffee or tea? I have a feeling that our audience is tea drinkers, being mostly from the UK. Bear with me as I'm just going to take a swig. Michael's off camera. And we're going to settle into a good stream tonight. I guess if we want to dig in, are you ready to get stuck in on LUFC?
Yeah.
Let's just get stuck in then to the game that happened over the weekend, and Brentford. I kind of have mixed emotions or mixed feelings on the game. It's okay to waffle, by the way. I just wanted people to say, like, it's okay to be on the fence and retract and change your opinion. We live in such a bifurcating world that I think people are like, I got to be Jesse in or I got to be Jesse out, be stuck in, dig my heels in. And it's okay to, this is it's an interesting team. And I think that the team does fight for the manager. I thought the reports, I just kind of want to also lead off with, I was very disappointed. It's been a while since we streamed, Michael. I was so disappointed in my colleagues over the past few weeks. Like when I say colleagues, I mean other content creators online that were spreading the news or the report that there were people in the locker room calling for Jesse's job. And I just felt like we do not have, it's very rare that a journalist will have actual, a real journalist. Sorry, I'm being bad, but a journalist will have connections to the players directly without media contacts from the club. And so the fact that you would have information from the players that they would be wanting the manager out just is highly unlikely. Obviously, some of the best reporters like Leeds have with Adam Pope and Phil Hay, they can have
Sorry, Graham
unnamed
Smith.
Graham Smith. They have unnamed sources at the club, at the front office, and that makes sense that they will keep some sources anonymous or protected when there's incomings, etc. And but the fact that somebody would actually have contact with the players and the players would know this it just smelled so stinky to me, and I just didn't think that appropriate. And so anyways, I just want to kind of get that off my chest. Michael, you search kind of, I feel like you're into the I want to say the dark web of some information. Sometimes I hear some information that you've got. You search it. You and Gier both are obviously Gier with his show, but you'll filter it through the lens of, hey, this is a lot of smoke. This is true, or this is what I'm hearing. I don't know if there's any legs to this, but so when that information came out, I mean, what were your thoughts? Did you think, hey, Gier, hope you're well. When that information came out about the players calling for Jesse, what were your thoughts on that? Because I just immediately said, this is absolute overused phrase nowadays, but misinformation or disinformation, just probably not true. There's no way we would know that. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, it reminded me a little bit of towards the end of Bielsa's tenure, when some rumors were coming out that some players had been approaching, not approaching the board, but approaching him and telling him that things had to change and that they were unhappy with the way things were going, and that he was not receptive to taking on board their constructive feedback. Again, don't know if that's true, but certainly there was a lot of smoke around that happening at the time. And so you do wonder, perhaps there are some players that are more willing to sort of stand up and say things than others are. But to the extent of actually going to the boardroom and saying we want this guy sacked, I mean, I don't know how much truth there is to that. I think we need to be really careful about things like this. And obviously, random people on Twitter are going to tweet things and they're going to say things and whatever. That's fine. But certainly, like from a content creation perspective, I mean, if you have a platform and you're using it, I think it's probably important to say, like, I have no issue with actually reporting it. Like if it's news, if it's something that's happened or it hasn't happened, if it's just simply a conversation that's happening, then it's certainly worth addressing. But I think we got to be careful with it, right? And just make it very clear that saying, look, these are unconfirmed rumors at this point. There is some smoke or some information out there that's suggesting maybe some of the players are a little bit unhappy with the way things are going. It's not sourced. We don't know where it's coming from. So it's important to not necessarily buy into that as being gospel truth.
Yeah, and the spreading of it is
the revolt is on, because we don't know that. We don't know for sure.
Right. And I don't have to say that a revolt doesn't necessarily happen across leagues, but the harm in doing that to the club and spreading that kind of information, I think, was just I don't know. I think that we could be better as a fan base to say that to say that hey, look out, like, and people were doing it not to call anybody out. People were actually having it in the thumbnail, like, hey, the players aren't behind us, like, like, this just we live in an overreaction clickbait world. And I just felt like as soon as I saw that on Twitter, it's just, there's no way we could ever know that. And then unless a respectable, I hate to say that, respectable, but a journalist comes out with some credibility, I would never kind of like really entertain that kind of story. There's 7 folks in here. If you could all just smash the like. Before we started, we went coffee or tea. I'm coffee. Michael's coffee, although also tea. But I think if you had to pick, you go coffee. Jim here is a tea man. He says Yorkshire tea, Earl Grey, Taylor's coffee, with a left back, please. Okay. So,
Yeah.
like I said, go ahead and smash the like, kicks the algorithm on, and let's get stuck into the actual game. I just, I, so I have mixed feelings. Were they for the taking? I feel like at home, you want to get 3 points. Was the performance good? Were we the better side? Yes, I go ahead and say that.
Mm-hmm.
Am I more excited about the point at Newcastle than I am the point at home against Brentford? Yes, I'm more excited about that point. Um, just because I think Newcastle's a better defensive side, even though Brentford's not too shabby. And I just felt like we lacked a little bit of composure in the final third. And a lot of probably neutrals would say the same thing. Although I don't want to say that all the ideas and concepts of what Marsh had going into that game were poor. I just think that we could have lacked a little bit more composure in the final third. Michael, what are you taking away now, over 24 hours removed from the game? What are you taking away from it?
Yeah, I had to step away and think about it quite a bit with this one because it was one of those games that I think was really polarizing amongst the fan base and even polarizing in my own mind. Because there were a lot of positives to take, and yet at the same time, you can't sort of hide your disappointment about not being able to take 3 points that you really kind of it's getting critical at this point that we're going to start to need to take points, especially at home, especially against other mid-table teams. And I know where Brentford are in the table right now puts them pretty far ahead of us at this moment in time. You know, I think we have a game in hand as well, though, with them. So, you know, who knows the way that's going to break. But I mean, it is Brentford, and I'm not saying that disrespectfully, but I'm saying they're not a significantly better team than us. I wouldn't suggest that they have a better squad than we do. You know, we should be looking to perhaps win at home if possible, a game of that nature. I'm not saying that we didn't look to win the game. I think certainly for the first time in a while, we sort of took our foot off the pedal a little bit to focus more on defensive structure, and I think that it worked well in that regard. And so I really couldn't be happier with a clean sheet because we've really, really needed that as well, significantly. We can't keep bleeding two goals a game, and we've we've played Cardiff twice in the last few weeks and have conceded to them 4 times, and that's the lowest scoring team in the championship. So it's really positive to be able to come away with a clean sheet, particularly against a team that played in a way that has been hurting us all season, which is to hit us on the break, to put long balls into the channels and let forwards run onto them, and then expose us on sort of odd man rushes and stuff, basically, right? Like we're talking about having outnumbering us on fast breaks or transitional moments, or even just having sort of the third man in kind of thing, right? So the fact that we were able to deal with those well, I think there are 2 pieces of credit that have to go out with respect to the defense. One, I think it was deliberate by the manager to tighten that up, and that meant we weren't necessarily going as all out on the press as we often do, and we were a little bit more organized in how we were doing it, I think, and not being quite as aggressive up the field, and having some players back a little bit more, being able to sort of block things early. The other thing is that I really liked the aggressiveness and the timely interventions of our new center back, left back, whatever he happens to be, Max Verber. So he was very proactive in his defending in a way that we've seen Liam Cooper try to be, but perhaps with better execution than we've seen from Liam in recent times. Not to, again, I am not one that likes to trash Liam Cooper. I really like Liam Cooper. I've liked Liam Cooper for a long time. But say, we have sort of noticed that there's a bit of a regression there in terms of his game. Verber looks like he's really, really good. And the fact that he was able to come out of defense and break up attacks as they were coming through, in some ways, almost like a defensive midfield, like a ball-winning midfielder, breaking things up early, some really excellently timed sliding tackles to stop counterattacks. So I think a combination of those two things, being a little bit less aggressive on the attack, being a little more organized in defense on the one side strategically, and then having a player like Verber come in and actually play really, really well for his Premier League debut, both contributed. And I think you got to be happy with that.
Yeah, I was ecstatic about Verber, his debut. He got a Player of the Match award. I think that's voted on by fans. I'm not sure which one this is, but he was excellent, and I liked that partnership. I saw another stream podcast talking about the fact that when you're able to trust your center back partner, you play better. You're not necessarily thinking about somebody else's performance and if they make a mistake. And guys are never going to come out and say, yeah, I like to play with so-and-so, or I want to play with somebody else. But, Koch, I thought, had a decent game as well.
Really good.
So, long may this continue. I think they're going to probably play together to get additional time in the cup game. We're waiting to see, I believe, still who that opponent is. And Verber was excellent. The other person I kind of want to gush a little bit about, Michael, is Willy Gnonto. And I said to you in our thread during the game that Willy, to me, is more exciting than Rafinha. Rafinha was an extremely exciting player for us. His play, when Raf first came into Bielsa's side, he was incredible to watch. Luke Ayling or Bill Ayling said that the ball sounded different off of Rafinha's foot than it does other players. But this is a player, Willy Gnonto, that I literally, when he gets the ball, we used to say kind of like, not to use a North American, it's like Jose Batista back when he was playing with the Blue Jays. It was like you couldn't miss his at bat. You had to it was an appointment television type of thing when he took the bat and faced the pitcher. And it's almost like that with Willy. When he gets the ball, I find myself standing up and getting out of the seat and eyes glued to what he could do. And I I can't express how exciting a player it is. He's always able to, use a Bielsa term, express himself on the pitch. He's always able to put moves on these fullbacks and get into dangerous positions. And it's just like, you don't know what's going to happen. He's got a very good shot on him as well. Yeah, and it just doesn't matter who the opponent is, whether it's Cardiff or even at moments in the Man City game. He was kind of the one standout player. So, yeah, Michael, what are your thoughts on this young Willy Gnonto player that I don't know, we're going to continue to talk about, I think, the rest of the season. Long may he stay healthy.
Long may he stay healthy, and long may he stay a Leeds United player. He really is very exciting. I agree. One of the things that I find, there's a couple of really standout things for me, and to use another Bielsa-ism, he unbalances the opponent, and he does that. The ball really sort of sticks to his feet. He's excellent dribbler. He really gets into good positions to receive the ball. You almost never know which way he's going to go with it. He can take it wide, he can cross it, he can cut in. I think he's trying to already go for Pablo Hernandez's nutmeg record, because it seems like he pulls off at least a couple of those every match. It's hard not to get excited whenever you see him, and there are certain other things about his game I think that need to be appreciated as well. His physique, I think, makes him a standout player in a lot of ways as well. He's obviously not tall. But he can jump. Like, it's amazing that he actually wins some headers because he's not very tall at all. But he's obviously a very stocky lad, very strong, puts himself about, has no problem going shoulder to shoulder with other players, with other taller, bigger players. Has already at the tender age that he is, already knows how to use his body in ways that some younger players still need to learn to do, given his stature. And so I think he's got a lot of the right elements there, just in terms of his skill, also his physicality, and then the last piece for me are sort of the mental aspects of the game. He's not afraid of anyone in any situation, so he's not afraid of them in a game sort of way. He'll take anybody on. He'll carry the ball through or around anyone. He's not afraid to take the ball on in difficult, tight situations. But he also likes to get stuck in with the dark arts type stuff as well. Like, he'll charge right into any kind of altercation. All of a sudden, there's Willy popping up, getting in people's faces and sticking up for his teammates. And those kinds of qualities, I think, one, they're going to endear him to Leeds fans, because we tend to like that sort of thing anyway. It's the kind of stuff that you see as well with Tyler Adams, right? There's sort of a leadership quality to it, where he's there for his team. He's playing for his teammates, and he's not afraid of really any situation that he finds himself up against, and he's got the skill to pull it off. So, given that is what his age is, if he is able to stay fit and healthy, and I suspect that he is someone who might be able to do that, given how strong he looks and how he's been able to bounce up from hard tackles and things that might look like they would injure somebody. He's able to play through them. That could also just be because he's so young. I remember those days as well, being young and being able to recover from injuries very quickly. But yeah, he's a very, very exciting player, and you're right. He sort of fills a gap that we had when we lost Rafinha, or when Rafinha moved on. We didn't really lose him. We picked up quite a bit of money for him when he left, but it does sort of fill that gap of having sort of an exciting player that gets everyone up on their feet whenever he gets the ball, or whenever a play is breaking and it looks like he's going to be involved in it.
Yeah, he's excellent, and the strength. I mean, this particular photo, the man has to probably, if he doesn't bench the most, or I'm sorry, squat the most on the team, he's got to be very close.
Yeah,
so
very strong.
Very strong. We talk a lot about Brendan Aaronson kind of being bullied off the ball. Whatever Willy's doing in the weight room, I think should be hopefully passed on subconsciously throughout the rest of the team. But we started off this stream talking about black tea or coffee. I'm sorry, tea or coffee. Michael and I are both coffee men. But let us know. We have a black tea, 1 sugar. Let's see if we've got anything else. Diggler says he tends to be coffee nowadays. Interesting. I mean, to me, pound for pound, the caffeine.
Yeah.
Anyways, let us know. We're going to continue to talk about that.
It's
also
the caffeine factor for me. That's why it's the coffee.
Well,
I actually really love a cup of tea, but
a good
tea for me is almost a bedtime drink, which I know some people use it to wake up in the morning. And I'm like, I have a cup of tea and go to bed. Like, it doesn't affect me at all. But coffee, man, yeah.
I gotta get it, and I gotta get a cup of coffee. I mean, and to me, a good cup of coffee. The key is a good cup of coffee.
I grind my own fresh every morning.
Yeah, can be tasty.
Yeah.
Now, it not done correctly, coffee can be gross. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. Greetings in the chat.
Like P says, Yorkshire tea. That is correct.
Yes,
absolutely,
of course. Hold on real quick. Just trying to catch up on the. I was desperate for a clean sheet, so I'm happy because of that. Performance overall was good, says Digler again.
Mm.
I believe the clean sheet was good. I always am a fan of the clean sheet. We're just starting to get like an addict on, or we're a fiend for points. And so that we need to start picking up a win, and we're just thirsty for a league win too. So, no easy wins in the Premier League. It's a grind, and would have been awesome if we could have nicked it. I thought Patrick Bamford was kind of orchestrating the front line. You saw him pointing for the
When he came on.
ball. There was some good build-up play towards the end of the game. It almost felt like if the game was played another 10 minutes, we would have gotten a goal. Yeah.
Rodrigo has really been spectacular this season with his goal scoring feats, but I have to say, nobody leads the line on our team the way that Patrick Bamford does. And I mean, he is a proper center forward with all the other stuff that he does, his hold up play, his runs, his positioning, the way that he organizes things from the front. He is really a superb player, I think. And I know that he, has come in for a lot of criticism, sometimes justifiably, for, missing sitters now and again, and for being really streaky. And obviously the last season and a half have been hell for him with injuries, and it hasn't been much use to us because of that. Not that that's his fault in any way. But it is so great to see him back. And, he wasn't able to score, obviously, with Brentford. He was able to put 2 in as a sub against Cardiff. I already like the look of him coming back, and I hope we're able to. I don't want to rush him back. I hope we continue to ease him into it so that he doesn't pick up any more injuries, that he's able to get back to full strength. But I am looking forward to seeing more of him. Even though we've sort of brought in Rudiger as well, and Rodrigo's doing well. Bamford does add something, a different element, I think, to the way we look going forward.
He's just a 9-9. He gives you, what's the phrase, like a platform or a focal point. He gives you
he's
a
a focal
focal
point for
point.
us.
He tries
he's a focal
to,
point for us the way that nobody else is.
and he just understands the position. Even though he does come out of form and he misses sitters, that whole debate early on, like Patrick Bamford is still up there with most, biggest chances missed. One of the reasons he's up there is because of his movement. Like people need to understand, like, he's up there for a reason, because he creates these he gets in good positions. The old kind of like story, he gets in good positions.
These things tend to even out over the course of a season, right? When we're looking at things like XG, and he's underperforming his XG. He's had the most XG of anyone who has yet to score. He's so far below his XG. Yeah,
and he was injured,
but his minutes have been very limited, and they've come at a time where he's trying to get not only get back, to fitness, but also get back to being sharp, like to sharpness, right? And those are two different things, and you need to sort of have them both coming on. So maybe he's getting his fitness back, but he's not sharp yet. Now that his sharpness is coming on as well, I mean, I think we're going to see it. And he's streaky anyway. Over the course of a season, these things tend to balance out. And I don't think we need to sort of rag on Bamford for not quite scoring as many as perhaps he should have yet, because I think there will be times where he'll score some maybe lower percentage chances, and he'll catch up, I think, over the course of a season to be in or around where he ought to be in terms of the number of minutes that he plays. We know that he's a quality striker at this level.
And I think it's good that he's healthy, that Ruter can now kind of learn some of the older tricks of the trade behind the seasoned English striker. I think that might be a good thing for him.
Well, some of what Patrick does is the exact thing that Ruter needs to add to his game, right? Which is the hold up play, the leading the line stuff. He's already very good with the ball at his feet. But it's the hold up play. I think if he is going to be playing as a center forward, and I know that's not necessarily where he is, but I think they believe that he has the skill set or the ability to be able to develop into that. But whereas right now he's sort of more of a wide forward type player. but if they like what they see in sort of his underlying skills, to say, yeah, he's going to do that. Having someone like Bamford around to sort of help him with that development, I think will certainly be helpful.
Absolutely. Joe Depp, I've had his comment up for a while. I had us down for 40 odd points before the season started, and we are thereabouts with the purchases I made. We expect better. Cock had a good game. Agree on a lot of that. Go ahead and smash the like. There's about 15 of you in here. It just kicks the algorithm on, lets people know that we're live streaming. Michael, you had them. You said it's going to be a scrap unless we get a left back and a striker. We never wound up really getting the left back or the striker. Now that we're in the season, we're 40. We've got 40. I'm sorry. We're in the scrap. We're kind of. I mean, you're basically telling yourself a lie, kind of out of story. You'd probably never admit that to the media, but we're in a scrap area right now. We can get out of it. I'm not saying it's not impossible to get out of it, but now that we've done, I guess you could kind of frame it as the left back, even though Wober's now the center back. I don't know. We've strengthened the back line.
We've strengthened the back line.
We've strengthened the back line. We got the striker. Do you feel more confident that we'll kick on, or how are you feeling about the season moving forward?
Yeah, it is hard to say at this point. I mean, I think when I made that statement towards the end of the last window, very early on,
it was summer. It wasn't even.
No, it was August. I think.
Yeah.
It was August when I said that, and of course we have gone this season and we have struggled, and since that time we've also now shed a central midfielder, so that the only midfielder we have on the bench is Sam Greenwood, who is 20 years old, and 2, only just learning to be a midfielder. And is really limited, and I think in terms of his ability to affect the job in that particular role at this point. There are elements to the game that he brings, I think, that are positive, and I know some people have been a little more negative on him than I certainly feel. I think there are things that he does that's quite intelligent with the ball, but he's not exactly a game changer in that position, with the exception of set pieces. Not usually, anyway. There was that one really fantastic goal he scored, of course, but he's not a game changer in the same way that someone like Mateusz Klich could be. And we did see, even this season, in his limited number of minutes, Mateusz Klich would come on and completely change the complexion of the game. So when I said we needed a left back and a center forward and things would probably work themselves out, I wasn't anticipating then also being down an important attacking central midfielder. So I think there's probably room for that to happen now, and I know that the club have been apparently looking into that. The links with Unahi have been very, very strong. They've sort of gone up and down, and who knows what's happening with that now. But there have been other links as well to other midfield players, and perhaps that's something that we need to do, I think. But ultimately, my view of it is that I think we will now at this point probably be just about safe. It's going to be tight again, much more closer than it would like for comfort. Much more closer than it needs to be, I think, or than it needed to be, with proper squad planning sort of the whole way along. But somewhat we're playing catch up, because last season was just about a disaster, both in terms of how it went, but also in terms of squad planning. I simply didn't do a very good job with that last season. So now we're almost playing catch up in a way. So as long as we're good enough to sort of stay safe, I think we'll be able to kick on over the sort of medium long term. I think we do probably have enough firepower for the most part to keep us safe this season. Some stuff will depend a little bit on things like what's happened today with Frank Lampard being ousted at Everton. Who do they bring in? If they bring in a very good man, I mean, they have a decent squad. It's not a fantastic squad, but it's a decent squad. There's some fairly good players there. But a better manager, get them kicking on, and does that put us into trouble? Right now, I think there are clearly 3 teams that are worse than us, and probably 2 or 3 that are around the same. And so we're sort of all scrapping to just avoid the trouble. But I think we do have enough firepower to keep us out of it, notwithstanding the 0-0 draw and the sort of the misfiring of the weekend against Brentford.
Yeah, I think we have the. I feel better probably in the past 12 months than I've ever felt about the squad and the squad depth. Um, so that is a good thing. I, I think the elephant in the room right now, as we're going to get into the manager. I think we have a shout for Yorkshire tea. So I just want to reframe: tea or coffee? What's your vice? What's your pick? Michael and I are both coffee people,
I do
and
drink Yorkshire tea every day, but
and he
I
does it.
love
But
coffee.
he
I
loves
drink more coffee
he
than
loves
tea.
tea. I like tea. I like tea. Neither of us, I think, really monkey with the tea or the coffee
Mhm.
um, too much with milk or sugar. Go ahead and smash the like when you get your when you get in here. Bandy is making some good points here. And you have a terrifying avatar, Bandy, but we'll just keep rolling with it. Best thing about Lord Bamford is that he will always keep the opposition defense honest.
Yeah,
I agree with
I
that.
agree with that completely. Yeah,
Um,
he's not
do
afraid to
you
mix it up.
do you want to touch on Brendan Aaronson? I guess we'll just touch on this because we have seen, and we both kind of said it would be good to have a rest for him. I went through the team sheet last night. There's just nobody that you could really put on right now. That's 90 minutes. Sinistera could take his place, and then you could kind of drop. I can't remember Harrison back there, or he's playing on the wing. Sinistera could take the wing spot, but he's not 90 minutes fit.
No, he looks rusty as well.
Ruter.
Back to the
He's
fitness
going.
and sharpness, and right now, Sinistera doesn't really have either of them. He has some fitness, obviously, it wouldn't be out there, but yeah, I agree. He's
Brendan's
not
going to
fit to
face some
start yet.
competition here, and rightly so for a spot. And I think so. I think a rest is coming his way.
Yeah.
I think the gaffer was just a little bit handcuffed in terms of the team sheet. And Brendan does do some good stuff off the ball. He's a pressing merchant. Always say he's a pressing merchant. So I think it's coming. He is just a little bit. He's just off. He's just been off since the World Cup, since he's come back off the break. I think he's had some good moments. People want to kind of give him pelters, as you always say, Michael, before the World Cup. That maybe it was starting back then. Maybe,
It was a bit.
maybe
It was a bit
he
leading up to it, but
he does need to get stronger on the ball. He was actually getting some calls, I think, in and around the box this time. Some refs have just left their whistle in their pocket when he goes down. You've said, you made the joke about the death certificate to get a freaking penalty for him.
Yeah.
So I think arrest is coming for Brendan Aaronson. It's just a matter of when all these guys kind of get embedded in the side. Go ahead and smash the like if you could. I got 16 of you in here. We're going to go for 60 likes on this stream. I think Michael and I, to sum up Brentford, we're both kind of, it's okay. It's a result. We would have liked to get 3 points at home, especially where we are on the table. And just how starved we are for points at this point in the season, and a win. The worst stat about March, when people are starting to that's kind of like indefensible for the biggest March to not indefensible, but it's very difficult to rebut the argument, is when they say 2 wins in 16 or 2 wins in 17 or 4 wins in 18, or I can't remember, what is it,
4
8
wins
and
all
30,
season.
4 wins all season, 8 and
We
30. It's like, yeah, I don't
we're
really
joint
know.
we're joint lowest number of wins in the league right now. There's I think 4 teams on 4 wins and 1 team on 3. And so we're maybe it's 3 teams on 4.
It is sackable. It's sackable. It's so Bandy says when Marsh came here, he had 36 points to play for, and we just scraped through. I had to sleep 2 moons after last season. It's going to be the same. Tactics. Brandy, you've made a few more other comments about talking about that it's tactics. Enough of these pep talks, enough of and I get it too. the coach speak, as we like to say in America, is strong in this one. It's better less said when you're not picking any points up. So, Michael, we've both called out the manager this season. We started off this stream with saying that the players are still bought in, and are fighting for him. Good guy.
They're either fighting for him or they're fighting for personal pride. But either way, I don't see any evidence that the players have down tools on this. In this season.
I've also told you or talked about that he's learning on the job, and you've said,
Yeah,
this is not the league for that. I've
right.
agreed with you, but we both are like, the conclusion is there that he is learning. He's trying to evolve on the job. Does he make it the rest of the season?
That's a tough question. I mean, I think it's on the edge right now. When you look at, let's put it this way, the other teams with 4 wins have all sacked their managers. And now the team with 3 wins also. So we're the ones that are sort of left at this point. I believe that's fully correct. I don't know if anyone with 4 wins still has their initial manager or not, but I think pretty much everyone has at this point, or every team has at this point. So yeah, I think it's probably getting close, and I think
do or die time. I mean,
well, it is getting to that point.
It's getting to be must win.
Yeah, it is getting to that point. Let's see. So we have 4 wins. Wolverhampton Wanderers has 4. They've sacked a manager. Bournemouth has 4. They've sacked a manager. Everton has 3. They just sacked their manager. Southampton has 4. They've already sacked their manager. Every other team with as many wins as we have has already sacked their manager. West Ham are below us on the table, but they have 5 wins. And I mean, there's quite a bit of rumor around that they're pretty close to sacking their manager. I guess the one question I would have is, some of these teams have sacked their managers previously and they still only have 3 or 4 wins. So maybe it hasn't made that much of a difference. I do think that that this board is probably going to get, I don't know, itchy about it. I mean, I think they're probably going to get worried. I understand from various media, and I mean, this is no insider knowledge at all, but they're talking about it on I think maybe the Phil Hay show or something, and other places you've seen it as well, that the agreement is basically ironed out now for the 49ers takeover, likely to happen anytime between now and the summer. Summer probably makes sense from a strategic point of view. And that agreement probably includes some contingencies for if we go down. But I don't think anybody here is going to be comfortable with that scenario. And so at a certain point in time, I think people are going to start to get pretty upset if it's looking like it's not turning around. So does Jesse last? I don't know. I think it's, I would say it's probably a coin toss at this point. It's a coin toss easily at this point, whether he survives the rest of the season. But we got to start picking up wins. That's the main thing. We have to start picking up wins, and we have some games coming up this month where we need to collect 3 points from at least a couple of them. And if we don't do that, then I think the pressure will continue to mount. I know a lot of people are saying, when you get stories breaking about, some players revolting, and again, we don't know whether that's true or not. And I know some people seem to just take it as gospel, and that's probably not the right thing to do. But there also tends to be that idea of, there's no smoke without fire. And so maybe that's not exactly what happened, but you do start to see this. It's almost like the culture starts to shift, the entire environment around starts to shift and turn. And the pressure starts to mount, and, the board are not going to be totally deaf to that. It's not exactly like the barbarians are at the gates yet, but it's getting close to that, right? And if we don't start picking up some points from some of these games, Forest, Everton, Southampton, we need to be targeting all of those for 3 points. Not saying we're going to get 3 points, and that we have to get 3 points, but we need to be really targeting them for the 3 points each.
Mara says the teams don't have the players we have. You're not doing our rivals work for them. We're not going down. I think we can say that until we get dangerous. The problem is that we're still in the danger zone. We're not clear of the danger zone. Now that's not to say we can't kick on and get a couple wins and leave this thing in the dust, but it is tighter than a gnat's rear end still, and we just can't afford. We're like I said, he's running out of string. The moments of saying, okay, good performance, but we didn't get a result. You said, like, again, if people were saying this is the beginning of the season, it's fine. I think Cheers said that on his one of his streams or his match review. It's getting to be like, you can say that it was the beginning of the season. Yeah, absolutely. Put in a good performance, didn't get the result, we go again. Now it's getting to say we're in. You don't want to be in another where we're saying it's cup final every week, cup final every week, cup final every week.
Yeah, you don't want that.
We don't want that. We want to enjoy a little bit of this season, maybe enjoy the cup run. So next week for me is a must win. Whether they now, it always is debatable, like whether they sack. I'm kind of shocked, and maybe we'll switch over to just take a peek at Everton. I'm shocked that they sacked Frank Lampard and don't have a replacement already announced, ready to go. They're like got a short list and they're interviewing. Like,
yeah, there's a couple of coaches taking over training for the meantime.
Yeah, I mean, holy crow!
We got a bit of time until the next Premier League fixtures, right? At least that, because there's some FA Cup stuff coming up in the meantime.
The Toffees are they're in a bad way now. They could kick on and get a new manager bounce, but my gosh. So anyways, I hope that would never happen with our club. At least they already have a short list going, and they could easily draw up contracts with their short list once they do decide to move on from Jesse Marsh. Let's see. Wanted to look ahead at the fixture list. That's why I brought this out here. This is I don't know whether I think this is tasty or if could be a bad thing but Nottingham Forest, obviously. We got the cup on the 28th. TBD on our opponent. It looks favorable though. I think I sent the screenshot of who that could be. It's two teams from lower leagues.
Or Accrington Stanley.
Yeah, League One maybe. Is that correct?
No, below. I think even below.
Wow. That. Okay, so we should continue our cup run. I mean, if we don't, that's pretty poor on Jesse. And then Nottingham Forest, which will be at the City Ground, difficult.
Yeah,
and then the War of the Roses kind of back to back at Old Trafford, and then hosted at Ellen Road, and then at Everton, a relegation 6-pointer. We've been looking at February with a big circle all really since the World Cup break. We pointed at possible 3 relegation 6-pointers here in the month of February with Nottingham Forest, Everton, Southampton. Now, the question for me is, let's say he doesn't get the result at Forest. Let's say he gets he doesn't get a win. We lose.
If we lose, losing and drawing are slightly different scenarios, but yeah.
If we lose, I think we have to move on from the manager, which makes the scum games more interesting. Do you let him coach the scum games just for continuity and say they're both kind of free hits, and in that time you're kind of working out a deal with another manager? Or, I mean, I'm almost willing to think if Radrizzani is still in charge, he lets this thing roll all the way until, like he did last year, and uses last year as a blueprint, and then sacks the manager after February. And then we have a person that comes in that handles the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 games instead of 12 games, really turn it around. Maybe 10. No, Southampton. No, I just counted out 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think. 10. Okay, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13.
those
They've got
last
13.
those last games are tough though, right?
Yeah, May is Newcastle City, Newcastle, West Ham will probably be fighting for their lives still,
Yeah.
the way it's trending, and Tottenham. So May will be a difficult month. It's just you got to start looking ahead. I mean, he's got to get points, and this is just where we are. It's where we are as a club, and yes, absolutely. There's attacking firepower, but this league is tough. So, Michael, what do you think about everything I just said?
Well, I think if he gets a draw away at Forest, I mean, it's away, right? So if you get a draw away, the board may look at that and say, okay, but then we got to win our games at home, right? Especially against teams below us. Jared was mentioning that actually in our chat. Just you got to beat the teams below you, and maybe if you can beat a couple of teams above you, that's great. But definitely at least get points, especially if you can pick up a draw away from home. Win as many home games as you can, but certainly beat the teams below you. The issue is that we're running out of teams below us at this point. there's only 5 of them. So, getting something from our game in hand might be helpful as well. We'll see what happens there. But regardless of again, I don't know where they're at, but Jesse is undoubtedly running out of room. There's some interesting chat in our sort of comments chat here about this, and just talking about, is our squad really this idea, is our squad good enough to get us out of trouble regardless of what the manager is doing? I think we do have some quality players in our squad. I also tend to think that as fans, and not just as Leeds fans, as fans generally, we tend to overinflate how good some of our players are. Certainly, we also tend, I think, to maybe have a go at our players a little more often than they deserve. But emotions around our players, when they're playing well, they're amazing. And when they're playing a little poorly, they're terrible. There tends to be this sort of extreme set of feelings that fans have towards players. And that's not just a unique Leeds United thing. That's sort of the way it is, I think, across all sports and all fans. Certainly, I have to always constantly remind myself to check my emotions there. Do we have some good players? Absolutely, we do. I said already that I think we have enough firepower, and that our attacking structure is good enough. I think that we should be able to fire ourselves to safety, but it's going to be a close run thing. Ideally, if and it's hard to know because the sample size is so small, and because the game is what it is. Against Brentford, where they really didn't come to really attack us. They had 6 shots, all of them off target. They did, I think, try to hit us in a way that has hurt us before, but our defense really coped with it. And I think Verber is going to be a really big improvement there for us, especially Alex. I think I like what you said about sort of having the calm head back there, making sort of elevating the game for the other defenders. If that is in fact what's going to happen with Verber, and I again, small sample size, can't say for sure. So far, looks good to me. The matches that he's played so far looks good. Looks like that may actually be what happens. Not only that he's good, but also that his calmness and his intervention and his positioning and his leadership and his organizational skills at the back helps everyone else to elevate their game. If we can improve there, even just marginally at the back, and continue to score at the rate we typically have, again, notwithstanding that we weren't able to score on the weekend against Brentford, then I think we should be probably just about okay. The question is, how nervous does the board get about where we are? How close are they willing to accept? How close of a shave are they willing to accept before they say, you know what, we're going to pull the plug on this? I don't know.
Yeah, we could just do the whole, there's got to be 3 worse teams than us.
We were in 16th when Bielsa was sacked.
Yeah.
We weren't in the bottom 3. We were in 6th. Now, teams behind us had games in hand, right? And we certainly were down there at different points, but when he was sacked, we were not in the bottom 3.
Yeah. I think you're correct. I think you're bang on. Go ahead and smash the like if you haven't already. Our goal for this stream is 60 So help us get to 60 likes and bang the algorithm on so other people can know about this. Let's see. I just want to catch up on some comments. Diggler says, I think that Harrison needs to be sold. He's a weak link. Worries me when he's in the team, similar to Dan James. Look, I always said, at the beginning of the season, you can't kill Jack Harrison. The Jack Harrison's best quality is that he's available, and he puts in decent performances. Sometimes he's hot and cold. He's streaky like a lot of different guys, but
he plays hurt. But he plays.
He was always available. I mean, like Sinistera went down, Somerville went down. Like all of a sudden, Jack Harrison becomes important. Now you suffer another injury on the front line, and we really need Jack. So I did a video about this. We're squad building. We're still kind of in a squad building phase. I do think that Jack does need to be sold at some point, and we can recoup some wages from him. When that is, I don't know. I would not prefer it to be right now, just unless we're getting some bodies in. I'm just very conscious of
right now.
I also have PTSD from last year when it was so thin. We're bringing on McCarron. We're bringing on like guys that just quite honestly did not necessarily deserve a Premier League debut, but we had to break the U23 at that time, U23 glass emergency. I mean, really, the only person that probably deserved a Premier League debut in our youth team was Gelhardt, and or the minutes that he was getting. Even Greenwood maybe towards the end of the year. Anyways, obviously, rumors of Marcelo Bielsa at Everton. A legitimate source now has reported that. I saw that on. I sent that to the chat.
Is it Ornstein?
So that is a legitimate, top flight journalist. He's fickle. He is a fickle manager. He's entitled to talk to whatever team he wants to. If things are not right for Marcelo Bielsa, I think he's always very accommodating too. He'll pick up the phone and talk to people, but if things are not right, if he doesn't smell roses over at Everton, I don't think he goes there. We had to really kind of accommodate and recruit Marcelo Bielsa, but he could take that job. He was rumors he was taking somebody else's job earlier in the year. We went through this. Who was it? Michael? Bournemouth. Yeah.
Look,
and so I guess the idea of him coming back into the Premier League is I've faced it, as an ex-Bielsa kind of disciple. I think he is going to come back into the Prem at some point, or at least English football at some point. Who that's with, I don't know. And so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he was linked with Bournemouth. It was early in the season. We still had a big World Cup break ahead of us at that point. I would find it difficult to believe that Bielsa would take over a struggling Everton side at this time. We know that having a preseason to get his players into a particular level of fitness and shape is going to be very important for him. Does that work with the timelines right now? I don't know that it does. He could surprise, but I don't see it as being likely that he would take the job. But I mean, obviously, he, like you said, he's accommodating in the sense that he'll give anybody sort of the time, to make their case. And he's clearly done that if they're talking to him. But whether or not he actually takes it, I don't know at this point.
And Bandy's comments for me, he says we're capable of beating anyway, but we beat very few. For me, that's only true in the last few games. I don't think we had an incredible a gulf in talent in some of these other clubs, like Crystal Palace when it was like 2-1. To me, Crystal Palace is about our level. They have an incredible, attacking team. They've got some athletes on that team. So I don't know. Like, to me, and I've done chats about this, like 7, 8, 9 in the Premier League to, most of the top of the championship is tight. Every team's well organized. Every team understands where they are tactically. Yeah, I mean, and I get what you're saying a little bit with Marsh. You know, he's put himself in a position to be sacked. I'll say that. He's put himself in a, if he were to be sacked, people wouldn't be shocked. So
Yeah.
he could be sacked.
Well, the
You know,
conversations are happening, right? That's what I was saying earlier.
they
There's
need to
smoke,
have somebody in the
fire. I mean,
position. If they do
yeah,
sack him, now you're having a debate. Is if we sack him, we change the tactics. Who's coming in? What's the right thing with our personnel? I mean, they are hopefully having these conversations, as they did under when Bielsa was in danger,
I
and unlike
can't.
Everton, just
I
flailing in
can't
the wind without a
imagine.
manager.
I
Go ahead.
can't imagine that they're not having these conversations already. I mean, Orta had Marsh lined up for 2 years before, right?
There's
Like,
just too much on the line. There's so much
yeah,
on the line. There's
we
there's the
know what
sale.
planner. It doesn't always work, but we know what kind of a planner Victor Orta is, in the sense that he tracks players for years and he tracks managers for years. I would think he probably always has a list on the go with potentials, and he's probably always having conversations with people just to see what things are, because things can happen quickly in football. Yeah, I'm not. Again, I don't know if Marsh will get sacked. I do think we probably have a strong enough squad to fire ourselves to safety, but it's going to be close. And for me, it's just a matter of how jittery does this board get with a buyout on the horizon. Even if they have a negotiated deal in place, with contingencies for relegation, it's still not a sin. Just because you have a contingency doesn't mean you're willing to accept that. As an outcome, if you can do anything in your power to stop it. So nobody wants to see this happen, for us to go down. I think definitely. Yeah, the comments are great.
Yeah.
I think
All right, you guys are getting
definitely.
stuck into each other. I got you.
Yeah,
Look, I mean, we'll
definitely. I think they
referee
make a
this.
move. They make a move if there's not significant involvement.
I
I think
think
they do.
I think Bandy and Mar are basically the entire fan base. I think Bandy's saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
look, there's some symbolic showings here, and that we need points. We're leaving points on the table." And Mar is saying, "Hey, trust the process a little bit." I'm summarizing. Maybe you're not saying those exact words, but you're saying, we have the talent, we have the will, people are believing in the system, and we can kick on. Glasses half empty, glasses half full type of conversation that I think everybody's having in the Leeds United sphere and universe. And I think Michael and I are both there too. We need points. We need points. I think what's clear after this season is that Marsh is not the gaffer that's going to get us to challenge for Europe. I guess we could say that. He's not the guy that's going to get us to challenge that top 6 parentheses top 7 narrative. So
it does
but
feel like
is
there
it,
are some functional limitations on what we're able to do.
I mean, if people are
Learn, he can
seeing,
change, he can do other things too. But
yeah, if people are seeing it now, if people are saying that, and this could be something that could be, could be clipped up and go into the Leeds Hall of Fame or whatever. But if people are seeing it, God bless you. And yeah, I think people, you're rare right now if you're saying, okay, this manager's going to kick on and I don't know, win some serious top 5 European League trophies. I think would be it's tough to see right now, I guess, in this relegation scrap. And I think he's getting pretty much what he wants. Like apples to apples, he's getting a better squad than Bielsa did. He's getting the players that he wants.
Much more
and
balanced.
the excuses are less and less affordable for him because Bielsa had a terrible injury record. His squad was extremely thin. And look, we're only doing this because we're recency bias, and these are the managers that we've had in the Prem. But yeah, I think he's causing concern and causing reason for him to be sacked. with that being said, he's safe for now, and he needs to pick up points at Nottingham Forest. I think the players do put in a shift for him. I think there's every possibility in the world that we do pick up 3 points at the City Ground in a couple weeks. Michael, any closing thoughts here? I'm going to pretty much wrap up and maybe catch up on some comments, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, again, I think we're in an interesting place, and our chat here tonight. And thank you to everyone who's been so engaged in the chat. And I appreciate there are obviously some very divergent opinions on where we're at, and I think it's really interesting because it seems like a microcosm of the entire fan base right now. We are very, very divided on whether we think this project is going to work or not. For me, it really hasn't been working, or not working as well as I would have liked to this point. Being in this position makes me feel very anxious about Leeds and where we're at. I can't say that I'm the biggest fan of the brand of football that we're playing at this moment in time. It's just stylistically not particularly what I like, and we can't say that it's been really all that effective necessarily either, when we are still constantly looking over our shoulders. And on the weekend, we're actually in the drop zone very briefly until other results broke our way. If we are in a position where we're relying on other teams' results to break our way to keep us out of danger, then you have to say it's probably not working. I am willing to continue, it's not up to me. So whether I'm willing to continue to give him a chance or not, really not relevant. But, I'm not going to be screaming up and down, for Marsh to get sacked at this point in time. I think I tweeted something out which got an awful lot of attention. Which I'm not saying that in a sort of bragging kind of way, just in the sense that I think it was, again, one of those comments where there was a lot of divergent opinion. And it was basically that, if Marsh ends up being sacked at some point, I'm not going to be happy about it. I'm not going to be dancing, sort of on the grave of his Leeds United tenure. But I think there will also maybe perhaps be a sense of relief in some ways, because I just haven't felt like it's working. And I feel like there's things that we should be doing and could be doing to be better. However, if Marsh is able to turn things around, if we are able to crack on a bit better with our January signings, if we are able to stabilize and start picking up some wins at this stage, and we find ourselves comfortably mid-table, I'm happy to keep him there and give him another crack at it, and to continue to support him in that role. Again, without screaming up and down. I again, at this point, I'm not totally comfortable with if he was the manager. I think I might be a little relieved again if somebody else was to come in and do it, only because I don't think it's working all that well. But I'm not going to be happy about it. First and foremost, I want him to be able to succeed. I want Jesse Marsh. I like him personally. I like him. I think he seems like a great guy. I think the players seem to like him personally. I know there are certain, little foibles and things that tend to annoy people. I don't mind his openness and, the way that he talks. Maybe that's just because I'm used to North American managers talking that way.
Yeah, we're used to
and
the
I
coach
understand
speak.
it's different. I understand that it's different, but different isn't necessarily bad. Some things I kind of go, oh, God, just zip it. You don't need to talk anymore. That's enough. But you take the rough with the smooth. I mean, if that's the worst thing we're looking at and the results improve, it is what it is, right? But we've got to see improvement. That's the main thing. We have to see improvement. We have to start picking up some wins. And I'd be happy just to continue to, not necessarily be screaming for him to lose his job at this point, despite my unease and in some cases disappointment with the way it's going.
And this is where I am. I'm not the biggest fan of Simon Jordan, but he says he's the man before the man. And that's kind of where I'm at too. I like Jesse as an American soccer lover and a football lover. I know he's learning on the job. Like, I know I feel like when goals come in and, results aren't going the way, I'm like, kind of like, welcome to the Premier League, Jesse Marsh. Like, I even say that, like, I'm like, welcome to the Premier League. He just didn't, you could tell he didn't see some of this stuff like coming, the way that teams are happy to give you the ball, the way that teams are, not just the switch ball, which he says is an English tactic, and that's probably debatable, but it's just every team is organized and focused for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
There are no easy, like the Southampton game when we let off, there's been a lot of games where we've let off the gas and let Team Tottenham.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, West Ham. There was some. Well, we kind of came back in that game, but like the moment that I kind of knew the jump in league as a Leeds fan was West Ham. In Marcelo's first year, where we lost that game, and I think we lost it 1 or 2-0. We just out dominated everything about West Ham, and we let in 2 set pieces, and that was the game.
Yeah.
And Marcelo, that was one of Marcelo's weakest points, was set pieces. He did not necessarily practice corners the way every other team does, and it's a big piece of the Premier League football is grinding out results, getting set piece goals, setting in blocks. Like every team, because there's not a gulf in talent until you get to that top 6, 7, and every team plays those teams 14 times. So every team understands how to put in a block, be defensively solid in order to survive and hit people on the counter. So like, you know what I mean? Like and Marcelo was able to disrupt that his first year. Second year, obviously ran out of gas, but he was able to do that with the triangles, with drilling in kind of like this possession based, but very scripted football that was awesome to watch. Jesse doesn't necessarily have that. And it's obviously the jury's still out whether this Red Bull system fits in England. So I guess what I'm saying is that Jesse can kick on as a manager in world football and be a great manager. Obviously, I think a lot of people are saying in America that aren't really into Leeds or understand the impact of relegation, are saying, look at Arteta, look at Klopp, look at some of these guys that were not necessarily, ready for the job, but they stuck with it and then they kicked on. There's several problems with that analogy, but he could kick on in a sense, but I'm not necessarily seeing it. I can say it. It's like if I was in a performance evaluation, I would say to the person, I'm not seeing it right now. Help me help you. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
You have to pick up points. Where are we are? Well, I'm not going to you're going to make the choice for yourself, or this is going to make the choice for itself. Kind of prepare to start looking. I mean, you might have a conversation like that. So anyways, all this to say, we need points at the City Ground. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Michael. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm the best news to kind of come out of January thus far has been the news of the 49ers, that their investment is kicking on and that the takeover is probably likely. So that and Willy Gnonto just being incredibly exciting. So, and obviously the 49ers are in I called it the semifinal before the Super Bowl. So if you are a fan of the Leeds United takeover, you want to see the San Francisco 49er brand continue to grow. You'll be rooting for them. I believe that's this Sunday. They're going to be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles for a chance to go to the Super Bowl, which is a massive moneymaker for that franchise.
Yeah.
And if they're going to take over, hopefully maybe some of that money can kick over across the pond and we can get some players. But
well, it shows that they know what to do to win. I mean, they've been a competitive team for a few years now.
They've been good.
They made it to the Super Bowl a few years ago. They weren't able to win it, obviously, but they're back in the hunt again and looking very good defensively, despite losing their quarterback and having a rookie, Mr. Irrelevant, in there doing a job. Job.
Defense wins championships, and so if they're able to set up a side and they understand that the defensive solidity. I think with that franchise, and maybe they're able to set up a defensive solid team.
If there's some philosophy exchange over there, that would be fine with me.
Yeah, a sports philosophy, that would be great.
Before we go, shout out again to all the commentators, by the way, all the commenters rather.
Yeah, shout out to all you guys. I'm just trying to. There's a ton of people.
Excellent dialogue.
Great, thanks, Diggler. Thanks.
Purdy has been amazing. I agree. Purdy's been incredible. It's really something to behold.
He's the quarterback of the 49ers for
49. Yeah. Special shout. I just wanted to just not to say that we don't love all of you. We love all of you. Thank you for commenting. Special shout out to CF Rhino. That's my son, my teenage son, who joined in the chat very briefly just to say hi. But thanks for watching.
Shout out.
Thanks for watching, kid.
Shout out to you, Michael Jr., right?
Yeah.
Michael Jr. And Jeer, shout out to Jeer, was not able to join us today. Driving back from practice. The man's taken on a managerial position, I believe, in the 3rd or 4th division of Ireland. And hopefully we'll connect with him soon. Obviously, Leeds United The View for all your news updates. That's who I follow, because again, it's filtered through kind of a lens of validating some of these reports, or if it's not validated, basically tell you that, which I like, I appreciate, rather than the clickbait reaction world that we live in. Go to Leeds United The View. Good night, everybody. Have your evening cup of tea, Yorkshire tea, if you're going to bed, or maybe an Earl Grey or a non-caffeinated tea. Michael, talk to you in the chat.
Good night, all.
Good night, everybody.